Next, let us quickly fix this lower part. So I select all of these and I do my typical on Z-axis. No, there we go. Cool. Front part, it doesn't really bother me too much. It's not perfect, but it does the job. And I extrude downwards again to get me this. Okay, sweet. So yeah, there is definitely a big difference there. Like, I guess I could like quickly change it for you. I did mention though, I think that this piece here, it actually is kind of nicer with all of that extra. But it's up to you. You decide how to make your art. Slide that down to the side. Cool. Then the other difference is there's a hard edge there. I have slightly lost that. I could give it a go and try to bring a more obvious one. And that could be kind of like the final thing that we do. Before I show you how to export an unoptimized version, this, because after all, as I mentioned, we'll use it in the next steps of the tutorial. And lastly, there's this line here that I'm lacking. That's because my loop there isn't nearly as defined. So I could fix it by just adding one here and one here. And there we go. That kind of like makes it immediately much more noticeable. So yeah, we kind of got there. Top is a bit thinner on our newly made version, but I think I'll roll with it for now. You can carry on tweaking. So what I want to do next is I want to copy it, and then I want to just go on this view and kind of rotate like this, do that, and then place it there. That's how I derived my shield spike, by the way. I guess I kind of rotated it this way in my original one, so you could do that as well. Then back in this view and introduce it there. And I guess I kind of like place it around here. And then by the look of it, I either, well, there I've made like the front bit of this clip into it. I don't think that's ideal, if I'm being honest. Like, I think I like how I'm approaching it here better. Like, I would like this. See, like pieces that like sit on top of one another a bit better. Maybe this shield like here clips too much, so I'll go out a bit, and there we go. That's kind of cool. I like it. I don't know if it's not like too pointy downwards. It doesn't need to be identical to the top one. There isn't any rule set for any of this. Go here, go into X-ray mode, and then just select imperfectly all of this. I say imperfectly because next I'll just go into the soft selection and I'll rotate like so. I will go out of the X-ray so I can actually see a bit better, and here I will just rotate into spot, something that I like a bit more. There we go. Again, when I have the soft selection, I start rotating. There's that circle that appears. I make it larger or smaller by using my middle mouse wheel, and yeah, the smaller essentially makes it so I control less of the entire thing. I will do this, and then I think I want to select just this tip, but again in X-ray. Go out of X-ray and rotate again, because I'm feeling like the tip point downwards is kind of weird, as in like not really cool in a way. So yeah. Cool. Yeah, again, a difference in the two, but it will do. There are aspects of this one that I like more than the other one, if I'm being completely honest with you. So here we're going to save. I will hide this so we don't get confused. Before that, see, like I've made myself an entrance plate. I made that just as a block out. You don't have to do it if you don't want it, but in order to be like similar, I guess I'll do one really quickly. So I start by adding a cylinder. We start with a cylinder and then we lower it to like something really small. Like, let's say 5. No, I want it to be symmetrical, so 6 sides. And then I will rotate it like so, at like 30 degrees. And then I move it forward. I make it a bit larger. I move that to be relatively where like the floor is. There we go. And then I leave myself padding going down in space for the reason that I mentioned at the start of the video. These art pieces will be more versatile if there is space underneath, because it means they can be used by me or by other artists on landscapes that are not nearly as flat. So yeah, we do that, and then we select it all really, and we deselect by pressing A, all the faces, and then we deselect the top one, and we bevel once. And then I think the other plate is too smooth, by the way, so this one I'll keep less smooth. And then I do shade out smooth, and here I like using weighted normals. There we go. If we have weighted normals, we don't need smooth by angle, by the way, and the smooth by angle will overpower it. So we just leave it to the weighted normals. And I think what the other one has is a bit of this, like that part is a bit upwards. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of my other plate, so I like this one a bit more, if I'm being honest with you. So now that I've said that, maybe I don't like this, so let's say we want to quickly edit it. I'm not gonna start from scratch, I'll just select these, and then I'll select these and bevel again. 2 loops, cool, and maybe same for this. Cut, select, dissolve. I dissolve by pressing X on the keyboard, and it gives me the delete submenu. And then I select these, and I bevel again. I'm not going to touch the back side of this because I don't really care. Maybe actually for it to be more useful to you as an art piece, maybe you will want to give it more depth, like so, because that way it gives the corridor an actual floor, if you know what I mean. Otherwise the corridor will not really have that much floor, so yeah, why not, let's do that. We dissolve these, and we dissolve these, and then we select these and these, and we move it back. So this darkness is because the weighted normals don't really work when there isn't a supporting loop. So we do 1, but we go lower, maybe like 2 segments. Cool. And yeah, that I think is good enough. So let's hit save, and we're not gonna texture any of these pieces. We're not gonna optimize them. I've repeated this many times, but it's a good practice to go into the UV editor and then do UV, unwrap, smart UV project. Just so you have, the UV maps is good for everything that gets imported in Unreal to have UV maps, even if they're not perfect. These are not perfect, I actually hate them because the sims are not perfect. But that same rule goes for the other pieces. I will, once I start exporting them now in a minute, I'll give them at least smart UV projections. Then in the engine, we will import this and give it base materials that don't have tiling textures or anything. They just have these colors. It's essentially this, right? I'll show you how to do this. I'll not texture them. So for us to pull off this type of visual, we don't really need maps that are good. So here, there's something that I want to do and show you. So I'm going to make a new collection, and I will, what I'm going to show you is just housekeeping, okay? Select everything, move to a new collection, dummy. Cool, and then we make it invisible. Then the one that is like just a reference, I'm going to move to the dummy as well, because I don't need it. And now here we're just working with what we have created now. So the door gap, I don't need anymore this cube, because I was just using it to guide me, but I will find use for it, as in like I'll delete these sides and this side, and then here I will just make it scaled on the y-axis, and I will introduce a cut from here to here, just so it gives me that top point. Again, not very clean, because I'm introducing needless typology and increasing the poly count, but it doesn't matter, we're just blocking out here. This now will be my plane for the VFX. So I'm going to go with SM for static mesh, vortex door plane. Perfect. I will make sure that I apply all transformations and then set origin back to geometry. And after I've done that, I'll go into face orientation and I'll make sure that it's not red. If it's red, then I need to flip the normals by selecting it and recalculate and flipping. Because yeah, if it's red, we'll not be able to see it in the engine, and that's bad. Anyway, so this is one of my pieces done. Like, I'll make a new collection. So I press M to move the piece, new collection, and I'll go with export. Because that piece is done and ready for exporting. And what I will do next is here all these high poly modifier pieces, I'll keep them in this initial collection. And this collection will be my high poly, or maybe originals, maybe both. Then I'll select all of them and Ctrl D to duplicate them. And then without letting go, M to move them, and I move them to my export folder. I disable these original ones to be invisible, and then here I start applying one by one my modifiers, like so. Whenever I've applied something, I go and I select all of it, and then in the UV editor, I do UV Smart UV projection. Again, really dirty UVs, but we mentioned why it doesn't matter. Really dirty geometry. This is incredibly high poly, but we mentioned why that doesn't matter either now. We are trying to accomplish other stuff. Watch my other videos if you want to watch my other videos if you want to optimize them, is what I'm saying. Then join these UV Smart UV projection. I don't need to be in here to see that, but it's fine. Then we go to the next piece, the shield. We apply. Next, apply. The vortex plane we leave for the time being, and then we do this and we do this. And actually, the first few times probably didn't matter that I was unwrapping, because now I want to select it all by pressing A, deselect the vortex plane, and I want to join it. 1 second. So let's hide this in the middle for a second by clicking the eye, select it all, and then, oops, one has this, apply, select it all, join. Perfect. And then unhide the plane. And now this will call SM door gateway, or however you want to call it. The other one is the plane. And now I'll actually select it all here, and again in the UV editor I'll do UV Smart UV projections, unwrap. Perfect, doesn't matter. By the way, here if you're not seeing well, quick tip, you can click here and then say UV stretching on, and it just makes it so you can actually see. You can also click on the UV opacity and lower it a bit, and these white lines will not be nearly as visible, and I personally find it easier to see that way. Cool, yeah. So go back to the modeling, and now if the UVs of these were just for a good practice and they didn't really matter that much, for these it actually matters a lot, because on this plane, let's isolate it, we will actually be creating a VFX shader for it to create the vortex, and all of that is dependent on these UVs. So the other UVs not useful, these useful and very important. So make sure to unwrap properly this. The way I'm going to do it is I go onto the x-axis and then I go UV and then I say project from view, right? And it makes me this. If I do just UV unwrap or like smart UV projection, it will like rotate it weirdly, which is why I decided to just do the from view. Make sure that you're on the X plus, by the way, not on the X minus, because then it will flip your UVs, which by the way you probably won't notice for this type of effect. It will not be a big mistake at all, but just so you know. And then scale them by selecting them, and we aim for this middle line to be in the middle of the UV quadrant, like so, and then move it down a bit. So we want it sort of centered, because later when we create the VFX that has a polar coordinates vortex, it will be right in the middle, and we kind of want to project it. Well, I can actually show you what I'm on about. It's this circle. This circle from the thingy will be there thanks to the UVs. So cool. Okay, that's done. Perfect. Go back to the modeling, and that's that. Here you want to make sure one thing, that there's gold preview applied to all of the golden surfaces, and then make another material and call it like anything. It doesn't really need a name. And oh, actually it's easier if here we just click that ball and then we apply the material 001, then this one delete, and essentially all the gray parts now are using this. You can make sure if you scroll down on the viewport display and you change the color a bit, you'll see that it actually changes. We want these two material IDs like that because we'll find them useful in Unreal in a moment. The vortex plane is there as well. Good practice for the vortex plane would be to go on this y-axis, start editing so you can actually see the line of it, and then just ever so bring it back so it actually aligns and is centered. We don't want pieces that are not centered. Then Control A, all transform. So it's in there a bit inwards of the gate, but that doesn't really bother us. So cool, these two pieces are done. So next up we go File, Export, FBX. I've selected just the door gateway. And here on my desktop, I'll make a new folder and call it tutorial geometry, and I'll go into it. And here I want to export just the selected object, okay? Because I'm exporting the SM door gateway. And in the geometry tab, I want to say face for the smoothing. And then that's pretty much it. I select here and I press F2 to copy the name. And with the name copied, I paste it here. SM again for static mesh, door gateway, and we click export, and that is our first piece exported. Here I click and copy the name of the second one. I go File, Export, FBX, and I name this selected piece door vortex door plane. Actually, now that I'm looking at it, it makes more sense for it to be SM door vortex plane. So like the naming convention is actually better. Placed here, export, cool, and that's that. Save, and then go into your Unreal project. And now in my content folder, I'm going to make a new folder. Don't do this,